right, it's 7 p.m. If I could have your attention, please. 6, sorry. If you would stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you for coming. Because our village clerk is not here this evening, before we can proceed, we have to appoint someone to take the minutes. Corinne has said she would be willing to do so, but I would need a motion from the council to...
I make a motion that we appoint Corinne to do our clerk's duties.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Just have one. I'll second it.
Seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the next thing is the acceptance of the agenda. There are, because this is a special meeting, there are just 2 items on there, the police and the village administrator. If there are no further changes to the agenda, then I would need a motion to accept the agenda as printed. Jim, okay, that motion is made. Is there a second?
Support.
Okay, Peggy seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the next thing are petitions from the public. I assume that everyone is here to speak either on behalf of or against our police chief, our former police chief, Joel Dobus. I do have 2 letters that we did receive on this matter, and if there's no objections, I'd like to read them initially. Tim, one of them is from you. Do you want me to read that, or would you like to speak to the council? Okay, then I'm just going to read these 2. The first is from Nate and Val Shuttleworth of Calumet Coffee Works. Their letter reads, "To whom it may concern, this is a letter in support of rehiring Joel Dobus as police chief of Calumet, Michigan. As of the day Joel was permitted to act as police chief, he has shown to be active in all aspects of routine police work. Furthermore, he has introduced himself to us and many other businesses in Calumet, ensuring our confidence in his commitment and capabilities to perform his duty as police chief. We find it absurd that he wasn't given a chance to proceed due to a discrepancy with which he was rectifying with due diligence. The entire team at Calumet Coffee Works support his reinstatement immediately." The other one again is from Tim and Sue Weiss from Michigan House. "Dear Mr. Geisler, Mr. Tarvis, and village trustees, thank you for the opportunity to offer input as to moving forward with the vacancy in the chief of police position. As a business in the community, we have been and remain in support of Mr. Dobus as the police chief. In the few weeks he was allowed to function, he demonstrated great interest in our village, was at all times very professional and respectful, and had obviously spent some time in contacting other law enforcement agencies in developing a positive working relationship. He had also taken the time to introduce himself to staff such as bartenders who he may need to work with in the future. His energy and very positive attitude was refreshing. He is a highly decorated retired police chief, and we are lucky to have him in our community. If our voice matters at all, we strongly support Mr. Dobus as the Village of Calumet Chief of Police. We would also like to address the public allegations of nepotism relevant to the hiring of Mr. Dobus made by at least one trustee. During the August meeting of the council, Tim disclosed having had a previous relationship with Mr. Dobus, as Mr. Dobus had offered knife sharpening services to our commercial kitchen. To be clear, he sharpened knives for our kitchen approximately 6 times with a total expenditure from the business of approximately $300, with maybe 3 hours of face-to-face contact with Mr. Dobus. It was very obvious to us as a business with this limited contact that Mr. Dobus was a very professional and a man of integrity and great knowledge. We had no other social or personal contact with Mr. Dobus. We do not believe this contact rises to the definition of nepotism and are deeply saddened by the acrimony that exists from current trustees towards previous trustees. As a business and as residents, we, without reservation, support Joel Dobus as Chief of Police for our village. And again, that's from Tim and Sue Weiss. So I think there's probably a lot of people, this is petitions from the public, this is your opportunity to speak. I suspect a lot of you have something to say, so maybe what we'll do is I'll kind of start on this side of the room and work my way around. So who does want to speak this evening? Okay, Nathan, if you want to go first.
Well, I'm really happy to see a room full of people, whether you support Joel Dovis or you support Gene Thornton. A lot of the reason why we're here is lack of information. On September 14th, there was a special meeting, and all the trustees were here, but there was only one member of the public in this room. And they were discussing the background check, and I just happened to be one member of the public. Joel, when he came on, he did go and introduce himself to some businesses, and he made the effort to stop by and see you guys during the day. And he was real polite and professional, But what you don't know, and what you've heard rumors about, is he actually sat here at this table and lied to the council. It's in Jim Turkis' file, the personnel reports. He lied when he said he had no knowledge of the check. He lied when he said he had no knowledge of the items missing from his consignment stream. He made excuses that one of his employees, he didn't have control over his employees. Well, if one of my employees breaks a window, I'm responsible for it. He didn't, when Jim Turka was asked a question by Dave Geisler, he didn't give him a chance. He interrupted completely. It was totally disrespectful. And he has shown that disrespect to several members of the community. How would you feel just to be disrespected just because you know somebody that opposed you as chief of police? Wouldn't feel really good, Would you, if you sat here where I sat and watched him lose his temper and interrupt our village attorney many times, would you find that acceptable? I don't think anybody here would. Would you? The report was right there on the table, and it just got buried in the argument between the village attorney and Joel Dovis. Joel Dovis said he knew nothing of the non-sufficient check. When a police officer went to his front porch and interviewed him and put it in a report, and that report you'll find in Jim Turkis' file. You can freedom of information check it. It's true. Gene Thornton has been in Calumet for 20, 30 years. No matter who you are, no matter what side of the coin, whether you were being arrested, questioned, making a complaint, or receiving a complaint, Gene has always been respectful to everyone. Not just a select few that he deems undesirable. We all live here. We all deserve the same amount of respect. And with Gene Thornton, we have that respect. With Joel Dovis, we don't. We can't trust him. If he can sit here in this room and lie, then he can go into a court of law now. And when we need him in a court of law as a witness, we need him to be credible. And he is not credible.
Okay, thank you. All right, Doug, you had your hand up.
Yeah, hi, I'm Doug Harv. I think I know most everyone. I was on the council the last time, and as far as I'm aware, we hired Joe Dovis. Basically what we did was we took a hat full of people that interviewed for the position. We were directed as a personnel committee to interview the people and bring 3 names to the table, or excuse me, we were there to get 3 names, and the person that we thought was best for the job is who we recommended to the council. All 3 of us, myself, I can't remember if it was Tim and Sydney, all 3 of us agreed that, or maybe, I'm sorry.
I was not at committee.
No, you were.
No.
Because we asked for numbers of who we liked the best. There were 3 people.
You are talking about the interviews were done in public safety. I'm not on public safety committee.
No,
Interviews were not done in personnel. Dave is in personnel.
You're talking about the regular meeting where there was a vote of 5-1 to hire Joel.
Yes.
I was not in public safety committee. In public safety
No,
Doug, you're referring to our regular council meeting.
That's
When
correct.
Joel
I'm
was
sorry.
talking.
Yes,
Okay.
that's correct. So my issue that I'm having is we hired a gentleman. He was asked to start on May 15th. November 15th. He started November 15th. He did clerical stuff. He didn't go around and do anything in town of my knowledge. I don't know. Okay? He was asked to get his MCO certification by the council. He did that. Okay? You hired the guy. We hired the guy. And that quickly, the council made it go away. I don't understand why. I really don't get it. We need fresh blood in town. Gene Thornton, great officer, been here for years. Nate, what was his name?
Anderson?
Anderson. He's been in town for a long time. You know, he started off here. Okay? But Joel comes in and he brings a new, fresh idea. Okay? He brings in, the guy can write grants. He can help the village save money. I don't understand how easy it was for you in one meeting to take that away. I don't get it. I guess my opinion, and for what it's worth, I'm just curious. This is the biggest group I've ever seen at a council meeting before. I'm curious how many people are in support of Dobus. Just a show of hands, if you could, please. That's a lot of the community.
There's a lot of people out there too, Doug.
I'm sorry, let's.
I still have the floor. Nate, you know, as far as I'm concerned, you're a bully. You come here and record these meetings, and
He has a right
you
to. I'm sorry,
he interrupts.
please be quiet.
He interrupts the council or the three that are talking. I watched every single one of them. Thank you both for putting it on there. But you interrupt constantly. Your time's at the beginning. You had your time, Nate. It's done. It's my turn. Okay? The council's decision. Don't bully them. Don't intimidate them with that. Don't intimidate them with recorders. Don't cut stuff out. Come on, you guys. Joel Dobus is a good guy. He's going to be great for this town. Thank you.
Thanks. Who else would like to address the council? Okay, Tom, I'll get back to you, Nate, but I think everybody should have one time first.
Yeah, just to address some of the allegations, I was on the council as well at the time and on the committee, the Public Safety Committee, when we heard the interviews. And, you know, the check problem and a couple other issues came up, but these were things that happened 20 years ago in a consignment business, and we just didn't feel it rose to the occasion of being a real detriment when he had all the overriding factors of being in law enforcement for so long and bringing in some new ideas, some fresh ideas into the community, and we just thought that was way above any of the little negative blips that we saw. And I would have to echo Doug's sentiment too. There's, you know, people, Peggy and Virginia and Sydney and Nate have just been negative. I don't know that they've done anything positive in the community. The board used to work together at making the village go forward, and now we have, all these negative people all the time, and it just seems like they're just there to drag everything down and put the wrench in the works whenever they can. I don't know that they've got any goals in mind as far as really positive things. So no, that's all I have to say on this right now.
Who else would like to address the council? I can't see, oh, okay, Paul.
Yeah, Paul Gronoff, I got a shop down the street over here, been in this town for 30 years doing business, 21, at a picture framing shop. Joel came into my shop when he first started, introduced himself, updated my information, contact information. I thought that was pretty darn nice. I mean, everybody forgets. You change your emails, you change your phone numbers with cell phones and everything. He did a great job there. He diffused the problem out on the street one day by my shop. It's just a parking violation, but I mean, these are, I think the ticket was $35, $25 or $35 if the person got a ticket. Both parties walked away with a smile on their face. It was good because these people shop in our town. And we don't need a ticket wielding person writing tickets to everybody in this town anymore. We had that a few years ago, we lost a lot of business because of it. So, Joel also, I don't know, I've never seen these in years, put this card on my door one night a few weeks ago, January 14th. This is a door check, that's what I call it. He calls it a visit report card. He put this on my door. That means I haven't seen anything like this in years. He's checking our doors, he's out in the public. He's around places around here, checking our businesses, standing behind us. We have to have somebody like this in the area. And I don't want, I'm going to say this, the pot shops and bars dictating where the police go in this town. You need those police on the streets here. People start to drive faster. I've seen it in this town when we haven't had a police officer. They start to drive faster. There's drug deals on these streets. And if you don't think there's drugs in this town, you're really wrong. There's drug dealings. There's vandalism. There's all sorts of things going on. I've seen a beating in front of my shop. I've seen a drug deal right in front of the window over there. We need a police officer. And I got nothing against Gene Thornton. Either Gene or Joe. But we need a police officer in this town. Don't change that. I mean, it'll get bad. We've had gangs on our streets years ago. People forget about that stuff. But it's out there. And everything that's in these cities are right here now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Paul. Who else? Yes.
I'm Ken Brocco. I own nothing in the village of Calumet. I am a taxpayer, but I own nothing in this town. I've lived in this town all my life. I've been in law enforcement for just a year shy of 40 years. I met Dovish on the street, half-expansively, 3 days before he got the axe. And I was so surprised to hear what I heard. He told me a lot about himself, about his family, where he grew up, how he grew up, and his career in law enforcement. And I shared mine with him also. We had coffee once after that. I had him to my home. Dovish is not plugged in, politically or demographically, to this area. He probably made application for the job, the position, whatever the hell you call it, through the internet or whatever. And he was asked to come up and interview, which obviously he did, and he got the job. What homework wasn't done on him lies in the druthers of these people right here, not in Dovish. These people didn't do their work. Dovish made application right and properly. He came in on a level playing field. What he saw, he accepted at face value. So, down the Primrose Lane we go. We change a few faces. And then bingo. I don't know the semantics or what these people are talking about, because I stay the hell out of politics. The last time I was in this council chambers, when Scott Dianda was ramrodded out of his business over here about 30 years ago, and I haven't walked in here since, except to vote. Personally, I think Dovish is a good man. His paperwork will speak for that. Give him a chance. He has no demographic ties, no nothing. The closest he got to this town is in Alger County, a hunting camp to him and his brother's had. And then now he bought his place out at Grace Lake. I think he was railroaded, and I know how he feels. I was railroaded out of Michigan Tech with almost 30 years of service. 13 years after that, it ended up in the Supreme Court. I wouldn't want to see him jump through the rotten, miserable, crusty, tacky hoops of legalese like I had to do. And I didn't think I'd make it to be standing here today to say what I'm saying at 82 years of age, because it isn't worth it. If he's not given a chance, fine. the loss is yours. Everyone in this damn town. It's your loss. Joe Bobish's gain, I'll tell you where it's gonna be. Through the rear window of his car as he's going south in his rear view mirror. Because if he has got a fight to come back here and face this political quagmire or crap, to me, it's not worth it. Because I've been through it. 13 years of legalese. And I talked to him twice today. It isn't worth it. You don't want to give him a chance. It's the village of Calumet's loss. And the twist would be his game. That's all I gotta say.
Thank you.
Stick that in your pipe and smoke it.
All right, who else would like to address the council?
You're damn right.
Okay, Steve?
I'm like Trump. You know,
Steve?
I name it and claim it.
Council President Steve Kellogg, you all know me. One of the things I'd like to say about Joel is I got to know him after he got certified. And one of the nicest things that I haven't seen in this town since I've been here, even before when I was here in the 80s, Joel would come to me after a snowstorm when we were cleaning up. And one of the first things he'd say was there any cars out there? Because he wasn't working that night. And I'd give him a license number of a car that we had to work around. And he'd go talk to that person. Instead of writing tickets, he'd go talk to him. And I usually like to tell him that, well, we usually don't want to yank a car because it's going to cost him, you know. And he'd say, well, we'll talk to him and see if it happens again, then we'll warn him. The other thing he did is when we were in downtown 11 o'clock in the morning, hauling snow with all the traffic, he came out and directed traffic for us. I've never had a police officer help me do that. And that's where we need it with our equipment. And the fact that he was willing to come to me when any kind of there was an issue, or if I had an issue, we could work on it together. I guess what I'm asking is you reinstate Joel as the chief of police, because he's been good for my department, and he's been good for the village. Thank you.
Thanks, Steve. Leah?
I actually have a comment. I don't know if you're ready to take comments. I had a comment about the administrator position.
Oh, yeah, that'll,
If you want to hold off.
yeah, why don't we hold off on
Okay,
that?
sure.
Yeah, so, okay. Okay, anyone else? I'm sorry, I can't see who it is, but please.
I work with Steve at the village, and I accidentally locked my keys in my truck after work one day, and I was letting it warm up. It was windy and cold, and I let Steve know I called somebody else to come do it, but they never showed up. I asked him to get a hold of Joel, and he came over, he helped me get my vehicle. He's professional, courteous, polite, and there's not too many police officers I've met that have that. He's got something about him, charisma, the way he carries himself, and I think it'd be a detriment if he is let go. He should stay.
Okay, thank you. All right. Okay, Lori, yeah, I'm gonna let everybody go first one time. Lori, please.
I'm Lori O'Brien, I'm a business owner in the downtown too, and I agree with Tim and Sue that I think you guys should give him Joel a chance. I too have seen him in action on the street. I haven't seen a police officer on the street actually outside very often, and I think it was very refreshing. I too had, like Paul, had an orange, sticker in my door that said he had checked on our stuff. We have been broken into a few times over the years, and it is comforting to know that someone is out in the nighttime, watching out. And also, he too stopped in our shop and very politely, talked to him. I think he's a fine police officer, and I think you guys should give him a chance, especially since you already hired him once, and he went to the expense of, getting the certification that you guys required. And I was very shocked when I found out that had happened, that you guys had rescinded it, because it just didn't make any sense to me. So I I don't know where you guys are coming from, but on that respect, but I think that you should give him a chance, and I think he's great. I think he'd be a very good addition to the village.
Thank you, Lori. Okay. Is there anybody else? Okay, in the
I'm
back.
Pastor-
You're almost there.
I'm Pastor Eaglesizer of Keweenaw Baptist Church. And my experience with Joel is somewhat limited, but I have seen him at work and seen what a great job he does out there. He has done with our church like he has with these others, stopped in my case, late at night one night and introduced himself. And I was impressed with his leadership as well as the charisma I think Paul mentioned. I think he deserves another chance. I don't know all the ins and outs of all the things that have gone on, but I was impressed with what I saw that night.
Okay, thank you. Okay, anyone else? Okay, Nate?
First of all, we'll go back to the process of how this all started. And the allegation that it was a level playing field from the beginning, that's just false. You know, not only was the committee supposed to come back with their recommendations, but they were supposed to come back with all the applications that were presented to the subcommittee. That didn't happen. Just the 3 came back, and the only reason why 3 came back was originally 2 is because Mr. Thornton decided to jump back in the process once he saw things weren't being done correctly. You know, in the Mining Gazette, I read Dave state that the trustees are all volunteers and they can't know the law all the time. Well, that's wrong. You know, almost every one of them, without exception, had years of experience right here. The General Law Act is only 48 pages long. We got 12 right here. It'll tell you the duties of what's going on. Now our clerk, our administrator, was responsible for handling the process. He neglected to do a background check. He neglected to do a background check. And if it wasn't for Peggy Germain bringing up the fact that a background check was necessary, he would have been hired totally illegal. You can't hire somebody if they're not certified. You can't. And they did, knowing full well they were breaking the law. You can't bring 2 names forward or even 1 name forward, you know, if you haven't done the background check. You can't do it. So it wasn't a level playing field for all the applicants. It wasn't. You know, and I have no doubt that Joel was just totally respectful to street department employees, to businesses that supported him in his quest to become chief of police. And most of the people I've heard speak here were supporting him before he became chief. They just ignored the fact that he had these allegations of wrongdoing. You know, I mean, yeah, we're Christians, we can forgive wrongdoing, but our police department requires honor, respect, and integrity. And you can't get that respect when you treat one group of residents one way and another group of residents the other. We did give Joel a chance. You know, I gave him a chance. In my front driveway, a lady was stuck in the side of the road. She was yelling and screaming at him. I didn't know what was going on. All I know is she's pounding on my door looking for help. So I go out there and help her. And I kind of intercede between her and Joel. I'm like, look, man, I can handle this. You know, I explained to her that he can't do anything about the snow. You know, later on I find out that when she was stuck, he pulled up and she said, I'm stuck. And he said, well, what do you want me to do about it? Now, is that the way that he treated any of you? I don't think so. I don't think that's how he treated you, but that's how he treats other people in the village. You know, is it because of how we dress or what our house looks like? 15 minutes later, a brand new car was stuck up on at the stop sign. And there's witnesses here to see that. A brand new car. What does he do? He runs out and gets a shovel and helps them out, you know, while he left the other lady to herself. That's wrong, you know. But this idea that members of the council are volunteers and they shouldn't have to know what's going on. Like I said, the General Village Law Act is only 48 pages. 48 pages. And for them to be on the council, some of them for 10 plus years, and then, you know, for you to say they're only volunteers, they can't read 48 pages, that's disgusting. That's disgusting. And then I'll touch briefly on the administrator position. I would hope that the council would go to chapter 6 and recognize that you cannot, without an ordinance, hire an administrator. That administrator cannot take your duties. That administrator cannot take the clerk's duties, not without an ordinance taking those duties. You cannot just simply sign a contract and get it done. As to Mr. Harder saying I'm an obstructionist, the camera's a problem. If we would have had the camera here last year, none of you would have been here because you would have saw the truth. You would have saw what actually happened. There wouldn't have been only one member of the public. You could have gone back and watched it. I hope that everybody finds what Sydney's doing with that camera to be helpful. It won't only be in regular meetings, but it's also in the committee meetings, and will soon be in the township meetings. The more that we know what really goes on in this room, the more we can work to make positive change, to bring the community together. Because right now, all I see is people dividing the community further by not recognizing the fact that we are all entitled to respect. Not just some, all of us. Thank you.
There are just two things that I would like to correct in what Nate said. There are a bunch of trustees from the prior council here, so please correct me if I'm wrong. But when the decision was made to hire a new police chief, the entire council voted that the Public Safety Committee would receive all resumes and letters of interest, and they would come forward with the names of 3 people. I don't recall it ever being said that all resumes would come in. Sydney?
Yes, it does say that the committee would make a recommendation, but the committee would make available all resumes to the council, and all resumes were not made available to the entire
Did
council.
anyone ask for them? Did any of the trustees ask for them?
I don't know.
They should
I
have been
didn't.
Did you ask for them?
I think that all the information should have been provided in our packet.
Okay, but they were available.
No, they were not available.
Did you ask for them? If you didn't ask for them, how do you know they weren't available? I mean, they were sitting in that office.
That is a lame excuse.
Okay, that's fine, I'm wrong. But the other thing is, Gene, and you can correct me on this, Gene, I believe I came to you and asked you to do the background check, is that not correct?
I'm sorry?
I believe I came to you and asked if you would do the background check, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
And I did.
Yes, you did, thank you. Okay, I just wanted to clarify that. That is not a requirement that we do, but it is something that I thought was appropriate. All right, is there anyone else who wants to address the council? Yes?
Didn't the council actually approve Joel twice? Because I was at a council meeting, and I believe it was the second council meeting, and Tim Buys asked for clarification on it, and there was a second vote by this council where he was approved a second time. And so we got 2 votes, 2 council meetings where he's approved, and now we're going back to this process again.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else who wants? Doug?
You know, I'm going to tell you that when you guys are sitting here, you're going to constantly run into speed bumps. And as you can see, there's many times where you're going to make a decision or about to make a decision, and you're going to hit that speed bump. And someone's going to have a problem with who you've hired. Someone's going to have a problem with the one sentence in the blight. Someone's going to have a problem with, what was the other thing that you had mentioned earlier when you were talking? Or Nate, you just mentioned it, the administrator. Someone's going to have a problem with how we do the administrator. It's going to happen. You're going to run into issues like that. But it seems like when we were trying to decide about stuff, it was constantly. I mean, how long did we talk about blight for? Virginia.
14 months, I was
Yeah, forever.
there. That's why I'm
And every
sitting here.
time we turned around, there's an issue from somebody. Usually, it was Nate. Usually, it was Sydney. Or usually, it was Peggy. It was always an issue with anything that we would do. And unfortunately for our council, what it did was it turned people against people for whatever reason. Because no one, it was like it was always a split vote. It was horrible.
Kind of like a country.
There you go.
Government.
All I ask the council to do is please reinstate this guy. He is going to be good for your village. He is going to be good. I promise you that.
You know, I'd like to say something. I really don't want to, but I feel like I need to say something because we've got a lot of people in this audience tonight. You know, when we made that ruling to dismiss our chief, it wasn't done because he was a good officer, a bad officer, or somewhere in between, okay? The reason that happened is we seriously needed a do-over, okay? And I'll explain a little bit. Back when Mr. Dobus was hired, and I believe, and I wasn't on the council, the only person who was on the council at the time was Peggy Germain and our president, okay? We were not here. We all came in November, okay? He was hired, I believe, back in July, and then for some reason it was stalled. And then in in October, this is the new council, the older council made a motion, because I sat right there to say, to rescind Mr. Dobus as police chief. And there was six council people, including the president. There was 3 no and 3 yes. Okay, so it didn't pass. He was our new police chief. Okay, because Mr. Dobus wanted to know the status. Okay, so during that meeting in October, he was told, yes, you're hired and you start November 15th, okay? Now we get elected, we come on board after the November election. So I wasn't there for the first meeting, but everybody else was, you know. But for the first meeting, we come on board and Mr. Dobus, our police chief, who's hired to start on the 15th per council before, is going to get his MCO certification reactivated. Now remember, if you're prior law enforcement, you can get permission from the state not to go back to an academy setting. You can just go and take a test and pass some other things, and then they will look at the whole pot and they will send you a letter and they'll say, as of this date, you are reactivated. You are now MCOs reactivated. Okay? So what happened was he started on the 15th of November and he worked, I believe, just in the office. He didn't go out on the street because he didn't have uniforms or whatever. So he was in the office from November 15th. On November 30th, we required him as law enforcement and public safety to do what you call a daily, like what's going on in the day, you know, what incidents you have, you know, what you were doing during the day. And he started on the 30th, okay, in uniform, out there doing his thing as our police chief, okay? Now, we didn't have our first public safety committee meeting until I believe the 7th of January. Was it 7th of January? Yes. And all through the month of December, November and December, we had received as the village nothing from the state of Michigan saying that his certification has been reactivated. There's nothing, okay? The Friday before our Monday meeting on the 7th, we still had nothing that said the state has recertified him, he's reactivated. There was no paperwork. Now, you've got to have, if you're going to be out on the street being a police officer or, you know, a nurse or anything that requires a certificate or a certification, you know, you have to have it. You have to have it, you have to have, you know, you have to believe, but you have to verify that this person has it, okay? There was nothing up till the Friday before. When we had our meeting on Monday, the 7th, now all of a sudden, there's paperwork in his file that says the state of Michigan has reactivated your certification on December 5th. And the letterhead was dated December 27th, which means they gave him the 5th, but they didn't compile the letter till the 27th. So our chief probably didn't receive that till a few days after the 27th. So he hadn't gotten anything from the state saying you're reactivated, okay? And you have to have that, okay? So we had our law enforcement committee meeting, and we're trying to do the right thing here. I mean, I understand there's personalities and there's one likes and one doesn't like, but we gotta take that all out of the mix. It has nothing to do with it. It's all about liability, and is he legally eligible to hold said job? So when we had our meeting, I'm on the public safety, as is Sandy Johnson, as is Mr. Camps, Jim Camps. We asked him about the certification because I looked at the letter, and the letter and the certificate said, you've been reactivated as of December 1st. Now bear in mind, fifth rather. Now bear in mind, I even asked him, we need paper, this guy is out there working. Okay, so I said to him, I said, Joel, this is a problem. You've been working as a police officer, and you did not get reactivated till the 5th of December, and you did not even get your letter to the end of December. Now, this could have all been avoided if Mr. Dobis had come to the village president, the clerk, the council, after he took his test at the beginning of November and said, I cannot go out and work as your police chief until I get my paperwork saying I've been reactivated, okay? He never did that. He just went along, and then the paperwork magically appeared. He needed to tell this village and the people of this village, you know, what was going on, and he did not do that. I was actually shocked to see that paperwork, to be honest with you. You know, he had a responsibility to do that. He did not do that. And that is why he was dismissed. And I feel like I did the right thing. I can't speak for everybody else, but we need a do-over with this, because I talked to an attorney, the attorney for MCOLS, which is the Michigan Council on Law Enforcement Standards, and he told me that because we are a general law village, which, you know, we're a small village, you're either a charter village or you're a general law village. He told me if you are a general law village, you have to be certified, active on the day of hire. Now, there's been some controversy. Was he hired in July? Was he hired November 15th when he started? That doesn't really matter because he was working, okay? And if he had had a little communication with this council, this could have all been avoided, okay? You've got to communicate, you've got to do the right thing. So what we decided to do is, and I really find offense in people saying, you know, you're a problem. We need to stop all that stuff, okay? We need to work to make this village better. Everybody has an equal share in this village as far as I'm concerned. If you got a complaint, you know, let's hear it. But the problem is we gotta start this over. This was an illegal hire from the very beginning, okay? So what we're gonna do is we're gonna repost it, and anybody that is a certified police officer with an active MCOLS certification is welcome to put their name in, and we'll look at everybody, okay? I think that was the fair thing to do. It wasn't because of any other reason. You know, there's some liability here. You know, if he had taken a complaint that involved an arrest before he was certified, that would have been a big problem for this village. But he didn't say anything to us, and I don't believe he said anything to the president or anybody that, you know, he didn't have his recertification yet. Everybody just assumed that because he took this test on the 10th and 11th of November, he was good to go. And that's what he sort of said, you know, that's kind of what he said to us. And that was not right. So when you have things that are so out of whack like that, you gotta start over. You gotta do things right. So that's what we're attempting to do here. So, you know, I admire people coming and saying he did a good job, that's great. Okay, and then there's other people that say they didn't like what he did. Okay, what we're attempting to do here, and I think this is fair, is just try to correct it and make it right. Now, if there's any other response from the audience, I'd certainly like to hear it. I mean, we're not trying to be mean-spirited here. Yes?
I've got one with you. Why did you say at the last meeting there was no business in Cal? For comments like that, you should get the hell off the council. You're no damn good. That was horrible what you said. And
You
it
were
was on
yelling
tape.
at me, so I yelled back at you.
No, you said there was no business in Calumet. Do you
I didn't
remember?
mean it like that.
Well, what the hell did you say then? You said it.
Well,
Yes, you
okay,
did.
if you took
Okay,
offense,
can
I'm
you
sorry.
calm down? Yeah,
If you
calm
took
down.
offense, I'm sorry, okay? But when you start yelling, that's not gonna do anything other than I'm gonna ignore you or I might yell back, I'm sorry.
Well, when
I
you say there's no
apologize.
business, how do you respect somebody like you? When you say there's no business in Calumet, we don't need a
I
cop.
didn't mean it like that. I never
You
said we didn't need a
yes,
cop.
you said we need no police department. I heard
I don't know if I
you.
said
You can
that.
watch the video.
I don't know, but we have to take the personal out of it right now, and we have to do it the right way.
Then why don't you quit?
Right.
I don't
Okay.
have to quit.
If
I'm
we could-
elected by this village.
If we could move on, are there any other comments?
One more.
Yes, Nate?
You know, there's a lot of people passionate either way on this issue. You know, the one thing that we have constant is we still have Gene. He still works for the village. At this time, I just so much appreciated the courage that this village took, this council took to rectify an illegal act by the previous council. And if the previous council had not acted without regard to the General Village Law Act, a lot more would have gotten done last year, a lot more. But because they were reckless and they thought they could just get things through without following the law, things were delayed. You know, we got Gene. Gene's a constant. Nobody here has said a bad thing about Gene. We're all happy with him. I ask that somebody have the courage on the council to make a motion to install Gene as temporary police chief until we can redo the process.
Yes, there's a comment. Do you have a
I have a
comment?
comment to what this nice lady said. If Mr. Dobus couldn't, he's so credible in his nature, he's professional as a police officer, and he should know the proper steps he has to take to be certified and to be a police officer. How come he didn't go about it himself to make sure that he was getting his paperwork and everything was being processed in that sort of situation? If he can't take it upon himself to try and do something where he knows that he has to have this piece of paper saying he can do this, what's saying that he's not gonna, turn the other cheek to something else? I'm gonna leave it at that.
Oh, you want him to be your police chief?
I'm just gonna leave it at that.
Put it that way.
I can answer your question for you. He did not get a certification until he knew he was actually going to be hired. He didn't want to spend the, I don't know what it was, $400 or $700 to go downstate, not including his
That's what you have
travel.
to do.
Pardon me?
That's what you gotta do. If you wanna be a police officer in this town or any other town, you gotta follow the right steps.
He didn't apply anywhere else though. He just applied here. So he wanted to make sure that he
Please
got.
don't interrupt.
He wanted to make sure he got the job before he went down and got his certification. I understand that. I mean, if you're not 100% certain that you want to apply down in Houghton, but you want to apply here, I don't have a problem with that.
Okay, Nate?
That doesn't have anything to do with the simple fact that before he even applied, before you could even consider hiring him, before the council could even take a vote, the vote should have never happened because he had to be certified at the time of the vote. I mean, I ain't had anything to do with government up until about 11 months ago. And it seems like I know these 48 pages better than guys who've been on this council for years. This is a lot of back and forth that is not necessary. Make the motion, reinstall Gene as chief of police, go through the application process one more time, give everybody a fair shake. Our local backup police, when this process went through, they all resigned. They're not coming back with Chief Dolus here. Do the right thing. Let's get Gene back as chief.
Yep.
I'd like to say I'd like to say.
Can Tim go first?
Oh, sure,
Tim, you
sure,
have a
I'm
comment?
sorry.
Yeah, I promised my wife I wouldn't say anything. But I'd just like to ask this gentleman here, Nate, are you still going to boycott businesses that don't agree with you?
It has nothing to do with it. It has to do with the illegal
Bringing the community together.
When you want to.
Hey, Nate,
Oh, he's addressing me.
Please, no, but let him speak, and then you can speak, okay?
If you ask me a question.
Just let him speak.
I just wanted to know if he was going to continue boycotting the business.
Okay. Thanks, okay, now Nate, if you would like to respond.
Yeah, I still don't eat at your restaurant, Tim. I probably will never eat there again.
Good.
But I put that sign in my truck as a message to you,
In the window,
that
too.
when you support illegal policies, the public should know about it. And when the public knows about it, it can hurt you, all right? And if any business wants to support an illegal policy or do things illegally in this village, I will be the first one to stand on this roof and scream it to everybody.
God bless America.
You got it.
And that's why they didn't vote for you. That's why this community
I got
didn't
90
vote.
votes. I got 90 votes.
Not enough to be on this council.
43%.
Be probably more next time, guarantee it.
Yeah.
Okay, is there anyone else who, okay, Virginia?
I would just like to make a comment. I sat in the audience with the former council, just trying to get some blight things going on. And here's what I believe. Okay, I believe that the last council, it was so contentious with personalities and personal that I don't believe that he or Mr. Bice or Tom Bowles or Sidney or anybody did anything purposely wrong. It was just so contentious that nothing, you couldn't function. Okay, would you agree with that? And I think it's time there's so much animosity in this room right now about things. I think it's time from this day forward, if we want to make this village a better place, we've got to let all that stuff go. Let's let it all go. Let's start fresh from today. If you've got suggestions, make them. Everybody will take them seriously. But don't dwell on, this one doesn't like that one and this one doesn't like that one. That's not going to help us. It's not going to help us. I think everybody in this room tonight should make a pledge to just stop the insanity. Is everybody agreeable to that? With this police thing, let's just start over. Anybody that's certified, you're welcome to put your name in, okay?
I'd like to make a motion.
I said that was no poignant thing you said tonight, though. If the guy wasn't certified, he shouldn't have been.
But I don't believe that they actually knew that at the time.
Leave him out of the mix.
Yeah.
Just leave him out of the mix totally and start over.
Yeah, let's just everybody
Leave
start
Jim out
over.
of it and start over.
Before we make a motion though, I want to make sure everybody's had a chance to comment. So Doug, do you still have a comment or I wasn't sure if your hand was up?
No, I'm fine.
Okay, is there anyone else? Yes.
I'll agree with your suggestion that let's move on. But let's fast track this process for police chief and let's get it done within 3 weeks, not 3 months or 9 months like it took the last time. Can we do it on the fast track?
Absolutely. This council will make you aware of the fact that we will post it. I'm hoping that it's going to get posted in the next couple days. Limited time to get your application in if it's okay with everybody else, and we're going to hire somebody. But we've got to let all this old stuff go, and we've got to work together as a team. We've got to. Otherwise, we're going to have this every time we have a meeting, every single time. And I don't really know you. It's a little hurtful if you think I'm being mean-spirited. I really wasn't trying to be. I'm trying to do the right thing. If you think I'm doing the wrong thing, let me know. I'm willing to listen, okay? But this police thing really needed to be done properly. And if, like I said before, if he would have just come to us and said, I can't do anything, I know I'm hired until I get my reactivation, we wouldn't even be talking. We would not be talking tonight.
Hello. Got a question.
Yes.
Please.
It's so hard for the councils to decide. Why don't you guys hold the public elections?
There you go.
Run an election
There you go.
with
That's
certain
that's
people that.
$5,000.
Yeah.
So that's not going to happen.
Well,
You guys,
why not?
Yeah.
Let all the people of Calumet decide who they want as chief
Actually,
instead of.
you can petition their
certain
decision
people.
afterwards and you can have an election.
Yep.
Yes, you
Yes,
can.
you can.
Again, that's very expensive.
Well, it costs the village, I don't know, Steve, refresh my memory on how much it costs to pull all the equipment out when we clean up.
Right, are there any other comments?
A lot of money. So,
Okay, Leah.
If I could just comment about the administrator. Hello, everybody. My name is Leah Polzing. I'm the executive director of Main Street Calumet. And this just kind of follows up on what we were just saying, that we really need to make a decision, get on with the process, do the next thing. Last Tuesday, actually, Lori O'Brien and Dave and myself attended a training session for the Michigan Economic Development Corporation, otherwise known as MEDC. There's a lot of alphabet soup that goes around with all these organizations, but I've had letters to my office, how come Calumet doesn't get grants? We need more money. It's always an issue. So MEDC is it's the state, we can get grants from them. They're coming up with a process though that we have to be a certified redevelopment ready community. And over the course of probably like the next 18 months, maybe 2 years, I'm not sure what the exact date is, but if we don't achieve that certification, we will no longer be eligible for grants at all. And the process to become a certified community is going to take a lot of work from us. We have to have a master plan updated, we have to have a website, we have to have an economic redevelopment plan, a corridor plan, a complete streets plan. We have to develop 2 projects for redevelopment. I mean, it's a lot of planning.
A lot of money.
Right. Well, it's not necessarily a lot of money that we have to come up with, but we do have to.
But we don't have $5,000.
No,
And
but
again,
we need
it's
we need to be together and decide what are these things that we want to do. It's not necessarily a lot of money, but time for us to sit together and decide what we're going to do. And if we're hung up on who we're hiring, we're never going to get this done. So we can just fight about whatever, or we can move forward and maybe get some developments that we want to see happen, or try and get some roofs on buildings, some things that our community is just going to be in a puddle on the ground if we don't move forward. So anyway, I would just like to say we can, again, we want to fast track the police chief. Let's get an administrator in here and get moving. Thank you.
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
All right. Nate.
Yeah. Thank you for pointing out that it doesn't just take the council or an administrator to find out these things. It takes everybody in this room, no matter what you think about me or Doug or Virginia, but we're a really small community and we're really stripped of funding. We don't have a whole lot of cash. The deal with the administrator, what's holding that up is really simple ordinances. Under the General Village Law Act, we have to have an ordinance to take authority from Dave or to take authority from the clerk and to cede that authority to the administrator. It just has to be done that way to be done legally. It might be made out that that's a big speed bump, but it's really not. It's really not. Jim could draw something up pretty quickly and the council could approve it and we could move on to the administrator. We're pretty far along in the process anyways. But the position itself needs to be legal. And more people, there's so many people here. If people just showed up to committee meetings, there's so much knowledge in this room, but nobody shows up and puts in the input. It's so frustrating to be the only one in a meeting. And then to meet people on the street and they are so misinformed because the only way they find out anything is through the newspaper. And where does the newspaper get their information? They don't get it from the public sitting in these pews. They get it from the clerk's office. And when the clerk makes a mistake, do you think he's going to print it in the newspaper? No, he's not. We have to start filling these chairs every month and during the committee meetings and volunteering to help write these grants. Volunteering to help educate the council because they all are brand new. They don't know everything. But if we don't show up, you can't expect anything to get done. And we'll all be right back here again.
Okay,
on opposing sides.
I mean, again, we're way off topic, so then I'd like to confine our comments now to, does anybody else have any comments relative to Joel? Yes, Tom?
Oh, are we talking about the administrator?
No, I just want to get through the police first, okay? All right. Okay, if there are no more comments related to police, okay. There's basically, as I see it, there's 3 things we can do. We can reinstate Joel, we can appoint Jean, or we can begin the process again. So that's the council's decision.
Here's my motion I'd like to make. I would like us to put an ad in the newspaper, to repost the police chief job with specifications that they're MCO certified, with the endorsements that we need for him to serve his job. And with this, part of that motion, I would like to see if Mr. Thornton, or Officer Thornton, could come back and work until we can get this settled up to, say, 30 hours a week. And if you have your
Yes, I do. I
release
have everything, my
in
release.
order, so you
My
can work.
state certification, I have all that with me.
So we can move this on, and then we can get new names in here, so we can make a decision on who's gonna be our new police chief.
Okay, if I can suggest an amendment, because we want to fast track this, would you be willing to amend your motion to turn the words in the ad, the public safety needs to determine what the ad should read.
Yes.
They are responsible for placing it and determining when letters of interest and/or resumes are due.
I agree with that.
Okay, so you amend your motion
I
to
amend my
that
motion
effect.
to
Okay.
state that.
All right, so there is a motion to essentially begin the process anew, that the Public Safety Committee would be responsible for the language to be used in the request for letters of interest and resumes, and that they be allowed to determine when those resumes are due. And that Gene, when he is authorized by his doctors to come back, that he be authorized to work up to 30 hours per week. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second it.
Sharon, you're a second, okay. Is there discussion on the council?
I'd just like to ask everyone in this room to read November 1 minutes of the council, because before the hire had gone through, it could have been done properly and smoothly, and it would have avoided a lot of angst and dissent among the group. And even there was a letter to the editor that we violated the Equal Opportunity Employment Act. Two of us trustees didn't know. It said in the minutes we'd see all the applications, and we did not. And when I read one letter, it almost made me weep, because it was so wonderful that I could not understand how this person didn't even get an interview. So that's why, before we had proceeded full speed ahead on November 15, had we carefully listened to the reasons were for not moving ahead on November 1, we could have avoided this. But I'm glad we're going forward properly right now. And this is your town. And the last two words in American are I can, and you can make a difference in your town. It's not just people sitting at this table. Maybe we need to consolidate and all be united under one cause. It's under one flag. So I support you disagreeing with me, and I hope that we can always disagree without being disagreeable and make this town a better place for each one of us being here. Thank you.
All right, so we have a motion, as I previously described. Is there any other discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Okay, the next thing you have to do is, and we might as well do it at this meeting, is do we want to follow a procedure as we did for village administrator? That is, all letters of interest and resumes would go to the council members. A meeting would be scheduled with whoever the candidates are, at which all the council members would be allowed to ask questions of the candidates, similar again to the process that we followed for the village administrator position. So if that is acceptable, or if you want to do something else, that's fine, but if that is acceptable, then I would look for a motion that would be the procedure that we would follow.
I'd like to make a motion that anybody that is certified at the time, we interview them all. I don't think there's going to be 20 or 30. I think there's going to be, just a bare minimum. Let's do it right, let's give everybody a fair shot, and let's pick the right ones. And we have to put all of the old stuff behind us, we have to.
All right, so there is a motion that all candidates who submit letters of interest or resumes be interviewed by the entire council. So is there a second to that motion?
I'll second that.
Okay, so Tyler seconds. All right, is there any further discussion on that? Okay, if not, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Then the next item we have is the village administrator contract. I think you all have drafts of that. Okay, so I think you all have drafts of the employment agreement in front of you. I am told that it does not include an agreement relative to retirement and insurance, that will be added. I'll let you believe.
A lot of food for thought, mate.
We'll see you next time. We'll see you next time.
Get a better insight into the deal about it. I didn't write a lot of thoughts here. Okay.
All right, so again, you have the employment agreement in front of you. The two items which are missing is an agreement to contribute $100 per month towards health insurance. Could you guys close that door if they're going to talk out there? Okay, thank you. So there's a contribution of $100 per month towards health insurance and a contribution of $100 per month towards retirement. So that is the agreement as it stands right now. I mean, we can discuss the specifics, but ultimately what I'm looking for is a motion to allow the personnel committee to finalize this agreement with the terms as are described in here and as I just described to you, and that
I think we need to go through the terms.
okay.
There's questions on every page that I had.
Okay.
So you want to present a final
Yes,
to
that is
that
correct.
person.
Yes.
And if we can't hire an administrator, could we not have a contract with a staff person of the clerk?
I disagree. Our village attorney has ruled numerous times that we are in fact permitted to have a village administrator. So, just a moment please. So our village attorney has indicated that was perfectly legal several times. So
Okay, if you put it in writing to me, because what I read says otherwise, so if I have his written
I'm
opinion
aware,
that it's
Nate,
correct,
as I'm aware of the village manager ordinance. I mean, I'm aware of that again. We've had on numerous occasions, the
Right.
village attorney has indicated that what we're doing is perfectly in compliance with the law.
Right, orally. So if it just puts it in writing to us so we know we're doing correct, otherwise that page, 17 or 19, if what I read in the General Law Act, let's see, of the 208 general law villages, 56 have village managers. And Act 173 of 1985 allowed the village council to assign to the manager by ordinance selected administrative duties otherwise performed by other village officials under the General Law Act. In addition, the 1998 revision to the act allows the council to employ a manager to serve at the pleasure of the council and to enter into an employment contract with the manager. The council now may pass an ordinance assigning the manager any administrative duty of the council or the president, including hiring, firing, and directing village employees. It's through ordinance. And then they give sample ordinances in the back of the book. So if that's not correct, and our village attorney is correct, if we just have his statement, so everybody realizes that what I read is not correct in this book, and our village attorney is correct.
Can I ask a question?
Yes,
Okay,
please.
what I think Peggy's talking about is that, like, we're gonna hire a village administrator, okay? And a village administrator we wanna get on board pretty quick, because we need somebody. Okay, I think what she's talking about is the village manager, which has a few more extensive powers, and we would have to pass an ordinance to change the administrator into a manager, okay? I think right now we need to hire an administrator and get this thing rolling. And look into whether we want to make it a managerial position later on. We can do that. But right now, we can't spend months and months and months and months talking about stuff. We gotta start doing things. I don't know how everybody else feels, but let's get a village administrator going and talk about a manager later. I want it done yesterday, you know what I'm saying?
There is an option for the council. You can hire the same guy you want for the administrator as part-time assistant to the clerk to handle these functions that you want to handle. But under Chapter 5, Section 8, Paragraph 3, you cannot hire somebody, administrator or any other title-wise, to take the responsibilities of an elected official. And the way this contract is worded, he'll be handling duties of Dave's, he'll be handling duties of Rob's, and he may even handle duties that belong to the council. I'm not opposed to the idea of an administrator. I think we need good qualified help. If you saw my last trash bill, you'd understand. But we got to do it right, and it doesn't take that long. You can do something in the interim to get somebody in there, but you can't sign a long-term contract that is contrary to the law and expect to do things right. And I appreciate the spirit which this council has taken by rolling back some of the actions to make sure that we do things right under the general village law. Jim Turkett is correct. We can hire a village manager, but we have to do the ordinance at the same time. Chapter 5, Section 8, Paragraph 3.
And again, I will defer to the opinion of our village council. Yes.
Virginia?
Yes.
You're absolutely right that you could hire somebody, and it's a good idea to go ahead and hire somebody. The problem is the contract you have in front of you. If you go to the section on duties, there are duties in there. Number 1, the preparation of the annual budget, that are duties of the village clerk. So you have to go through your contract and make it comply with what you say. You need somebody in the office to do administrative work, but not the clerk's job. So the contract currently has clerk's duties in it. So if you can go through there and axe out the clerk's duties, then you can go ahead and hire somebody.
And I do understand that, but what I've watched in the 14 months I sat on that side is the village clerk, you guys set precedent that the village administrator did all those things and the village clerk did not, okay? When the old council was here, the village clerk did the minutes of the meeting, is that correct? And nothing else? So we've sort of set that precedent already, even though in the general...
But you can't do that by law.
But the former council did.
No, it did not. It did not write an ordinance. If you don't write an ordinance, you're not allowing the public to petition against it and force it to a vote.
No, I'm not talking about the ordinance. I'm talking about, we had an administrator before, and we
That
had a
was-
village
He was
clerk.
hired illegally.
He was hired illegally
And
and he
again, that
was
is
doing the
not
clerk's
according
duties.
to the opinion of the village
Yeah, we
attorney.
have to go with what our attorney says. I don't know, I would research things, and I'm sure everybody else would too, but my mission here is to get rid of the contentiousness. We just need to start somewhere. We gotta get it going. And if we can
And
just
the
get going,
easiest-
and if we can get along, we can make this.
The easiest thing to do is to go through that list of 9 duties.
Well, if
And
we don't
say-
want them to have those, if we want them to have the clerk's duties, or
Then you
don't
can
want
do
them to
so
have
by
those,
ordinance.
cross it off.
I don't mean to interrupt, Virginia, but you can do so by ordinance, and the ordinance is really simple. It's done everywhere else. I did an interview last week, and the guy that did the interview said Calumet government is run like no other government. You guys are brand new. We can change that. like I said, you can bring somebody in part-time to start working on our master plan and stuff like that. But please do the right thing. Do it by ordinance. Follow the law. You know, I understand the urgency to get this done, but the last administrator, that was an illegal hire. You know, there was lots of mistakes made, lots of authority ceded. We wouldn't have had a lot of the problems we had last year if we had done the process correctly. You know, and, you know,
And I
just
appreciate
ask that
what
you-
you're saying, but our village president has stated that our village attorney says that the way it was done, am I correct? The way it was done before with the village administrator and the clerk duties was okay. So we can go with that. Now, if it's not satisfactory in 6 months or a year, whatever, we can work on that. Ordinances take a while. You gotta put it in the paper, then you gotta, post it for 45 days. We need to make some progress here instead of our lips moving all the time.
I just find there's a danger in signing.
I don't think there's
a
any
long-term
danger. I don't think
In
there's
a
any
long-term
danger.
contract when we don't have the
Well,
ordinance.
we gotta, what is it? Is this a 2-year contract? Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, I don't think that's long-term.
No, that's not.
No, and you can also put in a contract, and I'm no legal person, and, this contract can have reopeners discussing different issues. When I was in a union, we had reopeners on medical and different things. We could easily put that in there. Reopener to discuss it, turn it into a managerial position. I mean, we could do whatever we want in a contract. But we need to make some progress. But that's just my opinion, there are 6 other people.
I just asked the council to read section 5, chapter 5, section 8. You don't have to be a lawyer to read what the law says.
And I appreciate that, Nate, but I'm gonna go with what our attorney says.
Oh, I'm with you. I totally understand. It's really important that we get this done. I just want you to be aware.
Virginia,
Yes.
I would like to challenge what the attorney says, because this attorney has been born and raised in the village of Calumet and has been operating as the village attorney for 30 or some years. And my father is a contract lawyer, and so I feel pretty confident in discussion with him and other people on this issue that the village attorney is incorrect. There is a loophole that exists, that you can hire somebody that is a staff of the clerk, and that's what he says. He says that orally, but what is in writing in this contract conflicts with what he says orally.
I don't even want to make another comment, but I'm going to. Okay, here's the problem with, okay, and I don't mean this in a mean way, and I appreciate that your father is an attorney, but you have no standing to talk as an attorney. That would be like me saying, I have a brother who's a dentist, so let's talk about teeth. I have no
Correct,
standing
correct.
to talk about
But
that.
when I
So I
see-
have to go with what our village attorney is stating to us. I feel comfortable with
I
that.
think you should go with the publication that the Michigan Municipal League puts out, and read what those words say.
All right, yes, you have a comment.
Yeah, I live here in town, and I'm just a nobody. I'm just a nobody. But I kind of come to these meetings once in a while when everything gets hot and heavy. All I can say is from my perspective, y'all need to quit jumping the gun and doing, we gotta get it right now. If you think it's going against the grain of the law, you need to step back and look at it all, instead of just keep jumping to conclusions. Look at the mess you just went through with the police chief. Are you gonna just keep doing that over and over and over again? I mean, I'm not getting it.
Well, and understand this agreement will be reviewed by our attorney and has been reviewed several times already by our attorney. So it is something that does go through the village attorney.
And we did say, to get things moving, if we do this agreement, then we will start looking into changing it to the manager position.
Could you do the agreement and just say support staff of the clerk, and the duties are the same, but it's following what
I think that
everybody...
paragraph is in there. It says the administrator acknowledges and understands that he is working
Right,
as an
but the
assistant
top
to the
says
village.
you're retaining the candidate as administrator. But by saying staff of the clerk, everybody's happy. The clerk still has the clerk's duties by law as outlined in the General Law Act, that you don't have to even look up the sample ordinance in the back of the book, but if you want an ordinance, you have, put it in the paper, and 45 days later, if the public doesn't come forward, it has the weight of the law, and I don't like governing without the consent of the people. We need to ask everybody what they think and follow the same rules for everybody. So as we try to figure out if we can have an administrator or what duties would go to which one, we could get somebody in the office right now, which Corinne has said we need somebody right away, and I agree, and then work through the semantics of what the General Law Act says and what the ordinances say, and try to make it palatable to everybody.
Can I ask a question, because I wasn't on this, I'm new to this. Okay, if you look at the general law, the clerk does have pretty extensive duties, okay, like big, long, extensive duties, and then you have an administrator that's got different duties. Did this council ever pass any kind of anything that says they're going to defer the duties of the clerk to the administrator? Because what I saw was the clerk duties were the administrator's duty. Was something like that ever
There's
passed?
something back in the 80s, yeah.
Back in the 80s that was passed?
first established.
No.
yeah.
No,
Never. Okay,
never
well,
done.
that's my question.
We should research that, because if it did, then the point's moot.
That's why we have to refer to our attorney, because none of us are legal eagles here.
We always had, there were
Without you.
4-inch high letters that said clerk's office, and the clerk from Mike Strussel to Margaret Stuckel, Joanne Marotz is in Keweenaw County. The clerk did all the clerk duties, worked full-time and took the minutes too. And then it got shifted somehow, and we've tried to figure it out, and nobody's actually addressed it. So we're taking steps now to make sure we're doing what's right. Whoever adopted this General Law Act is the one we're trying to follow, and if we don't want to, we can repeal this. We don't have to follow things that we don't want to do.
You kind of do though, because we're a general law village.
Well,
All right, so
Right now,
how do you want to move forward on this agreement? That's the question. I mean, do you have questions that you want?
well, should we go through the
Address?
contract page by page?
Yeah, because we need to move forward.
Okay, line
Yes.
2. Page 1, line 2, paragraph 1. It said Calumet, Village of Calumet, Michigan Municipal Corporation, you have the address of Donna Jasper Lyman's law office.
Oh, you're right, it should be
Instead of
340.
ours.
Yeah.
It's 3406, not the address given. Number 3, under the duties, it says the preparation of the agenda for monthly meetings, special meetings, together with the preparation and assembly of documents and materials necessary and convenient for review. What are they? Other materials. Is that the minutes?
I don't think
Also go in the
you,
packet?
I don't
or
think you
what?
can spell that out. I mean, our packets vary month to month. I mean, there's nothing consistent in them. Well, there are consistencies, but I think that's, again, it is.
But it's not the minutes?
Sorry?
It's
It
not?
would include the minutes, of course.
It's not the preparation of the minutes? Because right now, the clerk is only doing the monthly minutes. Attending meetings and doing the minutes for $100 a month, and then the manager, administrator, staff of the clerk, whomever, is getting the large salary, somewhere between 35 and 40,000 for doing the mother load of their duties. But when you say and materials necessary, that's so nebulous that.
It's just whatever information that he needs to put in our packet, so we have it. To me, that would mean,
Okay, for instance, like that time, it said that all trustees would receive all 5 applications, and the other.
That's
women-
all
I'm
I
sorry,
know.
that's
Old
only
news.
has 3 that,
You know
no,
what?
but I mean that kind of stuff, because we don't know what to ask for.
Did we pass a resolution that we're all not gonna talk about little stuff?
Well, I'm just saying we need to know what the duties are going to entail.
the next thing, Peggy, that you have?
Okay, let's see. Right here it says on page 2, there'll be an automatic base salary increase of 3%, and it'll occur automatically.
No, it may increase.
May is the operative word there.
May occur automatically unless the village council decides not to award them. Well, sometimes dates go by and we inadvertently award them. I don't think we should have anything be automatic that we don't address.
I think the word
Maybe when there's an
changes that.
annual
I think
review,
that
then
makes
you
sense.
determine based on the village budget for the year, if you can afford to give 3% across the board to all employees.
I don't care what the process is.
Or just one.
Just decide on that time.
Yeah, I mean, we could do whatever we want to do at the time.
Yeah, it's not a big deal to cross that out.
A period after evaluation and leave out the village may increase the base salary. Because we
Sure.
can do that
Let's
without
pass
having
it
a
out.
contract.
Where do you at now? Okay.
Under salary.
Right here.
Yeah.
So we'll take that out.
And then it says that performance administrator prior to the anniversary date of this agreement, September. Well, you must have boilerplated somebody else's contract because this is January. So would we put
We
January?
will put the correct.
Whatever.
This
is
just. Right.
Well, it says September blank of each year. Okay, January.
Yeah, that's January or February, whatever the date is when we sign the
And then it
paper.
says, performance evaluation form has been adopted by the village and reviewed by the administrator. Is there such a form? I've never seen one.
Has there ever been an evaluation before by
Not
a,
that not that I'm aware.
okay, do you even need that in there then?
It should be done.
Well, if it's on there, it should be part of this contract.
Excuse me? When I first started 16 years ago, I had evaluations, but then they haven't been done in years.
Okay.
Okay,
Should we put an evaluation if necessary, or do you just want it in there, period? I mean,
I think it should be.
just be in there?
Yeah.
All right, because I wasn't sure we ever did that.
Well, if you don't have the form, we shouldn't say we have it, or let's put it
Well,
as last page.
That's the form she said. She said.
Okay, so you're gonna attach that, so we know what the performance evaluation form is, okay. Let's see, then at the end, let's see. The position may involve extensive time outside the working hours. The normal 40 hours per week, it says the village shall allow the administrator to accumulate and use compensatory time. At the administrator's discretion, subject to the review. Compensatory time will not be paid as overtime. I have a problem with that. The position, most salary positions require a little more than that salary.
Read that. We were gonna take that out.
Oh, take it out?
no, we were gonna take it out by that piece of paper that tells us that we have to keep it in there. And that's the state law and the federal law.
Okay, it says, if we have to leave it in by law, thanks for this, I'll read it. The village shall allow the administrator to accumulate and subject to the review by the village council prior to the person taking the compensatory time or after. We need to say before or after, because if you just say they can take the time as they need it, they take it, and then it's a time when we have something going on in town when they're needed in the office, it should be prior to.
So we'll just add it before.
Okay. Before. Where to? Where are you adding that?
I guess what we'll have to do, maybe in committee, we can find a way to put it in there correctly.
Okay, just so we don't end up without coverage when we need
Right,
something.
okay.
Okay, the next, page 3. The work hours are from 8 to 4 with 1 hour off for lunch. That would be a 35-hour work week then? Is that what we're talking about?
They usually get paid for the lunch,
1 hour paid lunch?
yep, which would make 40 hours a week.
Okay. And Well, you don't have to say that then. Okay, let's see. C, I don't know, do we need that in there? Keep a log,
Yes.
accumulated,
Yeah, we need that in there.
need that, okay, good. And then, the credits, there's 13 work days for the first year, vacation time. And then with sick time, that's another, it could be 10 or 12,
That's something that we were gonna,
a lot of time.
when we redid this, we didn't cross off what we said. We're gonna take out Good Friday.
Where?
In the vacation times, I'm on page 4 at the top, where
Okay,
it lists the days. And then we were gonna take out the day after Thanksgiving.
or could they choose?
And then at the end it says, then there's one additional day that he could choose for him to take. And if I remember right, is that 7 days? Yeah, we figured that was 7 days. Yeah. And there were 2 sick days in there, so that's 12 days, and he can use a couple of those days as personal days.
Okay, what if the administrator chose, could they choose Good Friday and?
He can
and
choose
work
whatever day he wants.
Just any 7 of the holidays?
Yeah.
Okay, that's good.
That should be up to him, you know.
Yeah.
He can
Because
choose.
he's gonna know if there's activities going around in the village, and we
Right.
can't micromanage him. He's gotta be able to make some decisions, I think.
And that says that as long as if he takes time off, it's,
Yeah, any
Yeah.
7.
he'll work with us.
Yep.
That he won't take it off at a busy time for that.
Okay. That's on this.
Okay?
I have a question about the one that's the leave of absence for a reasonable period of time not to exceed 30 days. I know there is a federal law, and some states have adopted it where, you know, if you're, you know, gravely ill or a family member's gravely ill, I believe you can have time off without losing your job up to 2 years. I don't know what it is in Michigan, but federal law is 2 years. And each state, I think, has adopted it a little differently. You know, that doesn't happen very often where people have to take extended periods off. But I think putting a, you know, 30 days on there, that might not be like a legal date. Michigan might be a year, it might be whatever.
Well, would it be okay? We can leave that in there, and if we can research it as a committee. And if it's more than that,
Or
we
could
will
you
put
say
it
that
in
the
there.
law?
He's probably never gonna use it, but, you know, he should be able to go by what the law is, and I think it's not.
If we change the 30 days to conform with the FMLA,
Yeah,
that should be good.
exactly, just to conform with the family leave law, you know, whatever that,
That's good,
Yeah.
just put that in.
yeah, don't confine it to 30 days.
And they're responsible not to exceed the FMLA.
Yeah, right.
Sound really good, Tyler? Does that sound good to you?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, because we can, you know, if the time comes, you can look into it.
Okay. Anything else? Anybody would like to?
I mean,
Then we're looking at duties here.
do we pay the dues?
That, the dues thing was, it used to be up to 500, I checked into that, and usually it is, in the past, our administrator possibly can belong to the Rotary, who keeps him informed on what is going on in town and with the different organizations. And that's only optional if he feels like he would like to do that. And the 250 will cover his membership.
In the Rotary only? Is that what you're talking about?
Well, it'd be the
That's-
Lions,
that's-
it could be
It could be
whatever.
anything that he wanted
Whatever.
to, we gave up to that amount of money for him to belong to one of those organizations for the benefit of Calumet, if he chooses. Okay? Okay.
So if there are no other, to get this thing finalized, would there be a motion to permit the personnel committee to finalize this contract with the candidate. And if the committee and the candidate are in agreement, that I be authorized to sign that contract on behalf of the village. So, is there such a motion?
I guess my only concern is, what if the employment contract that's signed isn't the up-to-date one? Because the last two, like the blight ordinance and this other thing, we've got the drafts,
Do you
the
want,
earlier drafts instead of the current
do you want
ones,
that
so.
motion to state that the committee will distribute the agreement one last time to the entire council?
Well, because if we're adding and deleting some things, we don't want this one, the way it stands tonight, to be the one that the new person signs with you.
No, we would
Because
make those changes
we have to make
before we
those.
would do that.
Right.
And we would check with Mr. Tischer that everything is in order also, and then if David could sign it, so we can,
And then will Mr. Tersa just say in writing that it's fine to have an administrator, we do not need to pass an ordinance? If he puts it in writing, then
we will
I
ask
don't
him.
have to revisit this at all, that's my motion.
We will ask him to do that, if he would do that for us.
Okay,
I have one question, and maybe it doesn't apply anywhere, but I want to ask Mr. Snow. You were in the military for many, many years. Is there any chance that they're going to say, we want you for a couple of months here and there? You don't have any reserve, any commitments at all? I didn't think so, but I wanted to ask. Okay.
All right, so, again, okay, so would there be a motion to have this go back to personnel to finalize it? Obtain agreement from the candidate as to the terms of that agreement. At the time that it is given to Jim Tertia to review, that it also be distributed to all council members one last time. And that at the time that Mr. Tertia approves of the document, that I be given authority to sign it on behalf of the village.
I'll make a motion to
Do that?
do that. Whatever you said, yes, it's just one.
All right, did you get it all, Frank? Okay.
I'll talk to you tomorrow.
Okay, so we have a motion.
is
Is there a second? Is there a second?
It's a one-on-one. I'll second that if I'm allowed, I'm on the.
Yeah, no, you're allowed. You're absolutely allowed.
Okay,
Right.
I second
Okay,
it.
so we have a motion and a second. Okay, is there any further discussion? Okay, if not, because this does involve a financial obligation, I will do a roll call vote. So Jim?
Okay.
Sharon?
Yes.
Sandy?
Yes.
Tyler?
Yes.
Virginia?
Yes.
Peggy?
Mine is with the understanding that if Jim Tertia gives me written confirmation that it's correct to hire an administrator without an ordinance, then I'm a definite yes. But if he will not put it in writing, I'm a definite no.
All right, and I'm a yes. So, all right, if there is nothing else this evening, then could I have a motion to adjourn?
I adjourn this meeting.
That's the motion, I need a second.
I make a motion.
Okay, Peggy, can I have that one thing back, and I'll get you a copy of that?
Oh,